Alright, so today I've got 3 more multi-class build ideas for you to try in BG3. These 3 don't follow a particular theme like the other videos in this series. It's just 3 fun concepts that are vastly different from each other. So let's go! Let me know in the comments any other build ideas you'd like to see. Also, I've just updated my membership program here on YouTube to include early access to practically every video. So if you like these sort of builds or any of the other content that I do on the channel, consider joining the membership. Costs you literally $1. You get early access to basically every video, plus access to the members only Discord, a bunch of other benefits as well. So if you like what I do here, please consider checking that out. But enough of that, onto the video. We'll start with the Necromancer. Now this is a even split between a Necromancer wizard and a Spore Druid. Now, you'll probably start off as the Druid for the proficiencies that you do get from there, but essentially the way that this build comes together is you're going to use the Necromancy mechanics from the Wizard to summon undead thralls, as well as the Necromancy mechanics from a Circle of Spore Druid with fungal infestation to summon zombies in that way. So essentially here you'll get like a little bit of an army going of undead minions that you'll be able to use in combat. So generally most turns you'll sort of tinker between animating dead to animate dead enemies. Obviously you have to kill them first, which can be challenging. Now, one thing to point out here is that the hardest part of this build is that you have to kill their corpse in a very specific way so that it's still a quality corpse. You know, you don't want to waste those corpses, so you can actually then reanimate them. So you can't like burn them or blow them up, that sort of a thing. They have to be a nicely clean presented corpse for you then to animate the dead. Now you can get around this a little bit with the Spore Druid elements, because with the fungal infestation you can raise a minion with a reaction, so you can actually get an additional zombie in that way as well. This essentially allows you to animate dead and use fungal infestation in the same turn, as one as an action and one as a reaction. Now the reason that we're going Necromancy 6 and Spore Druid 6 is because at level 6 for the Spore Druid, that's where you get the fungal infestation, and then at level 6 for the Necromancy Wizard you get the undead thralls, so your summons are actually better, they have additional hit points, and you get to add your proficiency bonus to their damage. So they deal a little bit more damage, so they'll survive a bit longer than they would typically in the early game. So it's a good balance there to get both of the benefits from both of these like necromancy themed classes. There is also plenty of gear here that will benefit from this build, right? The Circle of Bones headpiece will give you undead ward, so that allied undead within 6 meters are resistant to bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing damage. It also gives you access to animate dead, which you already have anyway. You can use the armor of the Spore Keeper as well, which is like specifically for this like Spore Druid setup. It gives you access to a couple of different things for your spores with the spore stack, so you can like add different effects to them in that way. And there's a couple of different things you can do here in terms of weapon, right? You could just use a quarterstaff as a typical sort of druid wizard would, but there is also a rapier called the Jeweler's Prerogative, which is, you know, it's a fine enough weapon. You're not really going to be attacking that much with this build, like just with your weapon. And by equipping this weapon, you get access to an additional reaction per turn. So the benefit there is, because as a Spore Druid, when you are actually spreading those spores, that is actually a reaction, the Halo of Spores attack, right? Now, if you wanted to use Halo of Spores and the fungal infestation in the same turn, you need 2 reactions in order to do this, and this rapier gives you 2 reactions. Now in this footage here you can see I'm not actually proficient with the rapiers, but that doesn't necessarily matter. You can actually pick up a feat here, which I actually did before recording the combat footage, that'll give you access to the proficiency for the rapier. So you can do that if you wanted to go that route, get the 2 reactions, and you can attack with an action or something like that, and then you've got the 2 reactions to use these Spore Druid specific reactions, so you've got benefits from there. But this is a fun build that is hard to really see success in early game. It really is a late game build, and it's also definitely a hard build to actually get going, because you need the dead, you need dead people, right? Like there's no better way to put it. You need to kill people with your other party members so you can reanimate them to actually see success with this build. So it takes a bit to get going, but it is definitely a fun build to put together. Next, we have a opposite sort of build, right? We talked about a very evil necromancy build. This is a pure healer cleric divination wizard combo. Now this is basically an active party version of my camp caster concept that I've talked about in a couple of videos, where you've got a caster that you have at your camp that'll have these like permanent buffs that every like day you can just return and use them to like buff your party, right? And I wanted to do like an active version of this. What if you just wanted to have like a pure healer that comes with your party? And this is the best setup that you can do in my opinion. So essentially how this works is you will be a life cleric level 10 and a 2 to Divination Wizard. Now, the main thing here is during combat, you're going to use your actions and bonus actions, essentially to heal, and because of the Life Cleric class features you get, you do a really high amount of healing numbers with these different healing effects. We are comboing this with level 2 for the Divination Wizard for one specific reason, which is the Portent die. Now, twice per day, you can change the roll, whether that be an attack roll or saving throw, of anything around you to be a number from that Portent die. So you can use this to make enemies miss their attack roll, so protecting your allies. You can use this on your allies to make them pass saving throws. It's really beneficial, and it's a good way to use your reaction as this sort of like pure healer setup to avoid damage in that way. Now, this build itself really is just simply about healing and buffing allies, you know, with things like Bane and Bless, as well as summoning support with your cleric, because you can use things like the spiritual weapons or the Guardians of Faith. If you don't actually need to do any healing, then you can still be beneficial in that combat encounter with the spiritual weapons to deal damage, or the Guardian of Faith, which will also deal damage and sort of pull attention away from your allies, or you can like summon spirits around you. There's plenty of things you can do outside of just the simple like attacking, but the main thing that you'll do before any combat encounter, like literally every day, is you'll cast Longstrider on all of your allies for that free movement buff. Now, this is a ritual spell, so it doesn't consume those spell slots, and then Aid for that free HP. You probably want to upcast Aid, but you get that extra free HP as well. So the higher that you cast Aid, the more like hit points you get for the rest of that day for them. So it'll give your allies that initial buff to their HP. Then you can heal it back with those massive healing numbers that you can do with all of the AoE healing spells you can learn with the Life Cleric, plus the class feature benefits you get from that as well. So there's a lot of fun with this build too, and it definitely combos perfectly with like a tanky character or those like high damage impact characters as well, that say you don't really want to take a lot of damage. And it doesn't fit with this 3 combo of builds that we're talking about here, because they're all sort of all over the place. But if you're looking for, say, having some sort of a tank character, or you just want a character that protects your allies, then this pure healer setup is absolutely perfect for it, because of the different spells that you can learn to really protect your allies in that way. Our last build here is the Jeweler. Now, this is a rogue and bard hybrid that continues the theme for basically like my bard setups, I guess. Like if you think about the one we did in our last video, this is similar, but it's a different sort of concept. So this is a dexterity based bard or rogue, and we're using dual crossbows, using the hand crossbows here. Now, the reason we're comboing this with a rogue is because as a level 3 thief rogue, when you pick the thief subclass, you get access to a bonus action. So you essentially have 2 bonus actions. By comboing this with the College of Swords bard, you can get access to 2 weapon fighting. So when you make an attack with your offhanded weapon, you can add your ability modifier to the damage of that weapon. So because we can then use offhanded attacks with the hand crossbow in our offhand, we can then add our ability modifier to that. You can also do the exact same thing with melee weapons, right? If you had 2 daggers or 2 short swords equipped, which we are also doing for this general setup. As a College of Swords bard as well, you get access to the flourishes, and the slashing flourish being the key here, right? Which allows you to attack up to 2 enemies at once. Now, as you level up the bard, because the bard's going to be your main class, you get that to level 8 and the rogue to level 4, so you get that extra feat, and then 8 for the bard, so you get the 2 feats that way, plus the extra attack. So essentially what happens here, right, is that in a standard turn, you can use Slashing Flourish to hit 2 targets, and then you can use that extra attack to use Slashing Flourish again to hit another 2 targets, which makes 4. Then you've still got 2 bonus actions left to make offhanded attacks that still have your ability modifier applied to them with your offhanded crossbow. What that gives you is in that one turn, you can essentially attack 6 times pretty simply. I'm also combining 2 hand crossbows here, the Hellfire hand crossbow and the Fire Stoker. Now, this doesn't happen very often, but you can trigger this effect too, right? So with the Hellfire hand crossbow, if you attack while hiding or invisible, you can possibly inflict burning, and the Fire Stoker deals an additional piercing damage to burning targets. Now, because we've got the rogue, we've got the cunning actions here to hide as well, so you can hide in combat and be able to trigger this effect, or say, you know, you can hide outside of combat and start from that initiative surprise effect as well. So you've got benefits to use these 2 hand crossbows that sort of really have nice synergy. So this is the general setup for this build, and you can go into the sharpshooter line to deal additional damage in that way for the feed as well. This is a fun build, and like bards are just fun in general because you got access to so many skills and proficiencies. Same with the rogue, so you'll be able to pass a lot of skill checks, and then you've also got the ability to attack multiple times per turn and do different things with the flourishes. And you've also got spells, right? Like you've got some spells that you can play around with. I would say with this build as well, just make sure that you're spreading your stats properly, because, you know, a bard would typically have a lot of charisma, but because we are a dexterity sort of martial focused bard, you want to make sure that dex is definitely a higher stat, still with a little bit of charisma there, so you can cast spells and get benefits from them if you want to go that route and do a little bit of that, but your main focus will be on that martial aspects of the kit. And if you wanted to, you could dip 2 levels into fighter to get like action surge there as well, so then technically you could like attack like another 4 times per turn if you wanted to get really crazy with this build. But I think that the flow of just having these 2 classes fits a little bit better. But that is all of the builds I have for you today, guys. Let me know your thoughts on these 3 in the comments down below, and check out the rest of the videos in this multi-class build series that we have spun up here. Thank you guys for watching this video till the end. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel. My name is NorZZa, and I hope you have a great day.